This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Gorin Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom.
Morning.
What's up? Good morning. I'm still hitting all the buttons on the Twitter and everywhere else. What's up, dude?
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you bullish for the OpenSea airdrop that's coming up sometime soon?
I mean, I heard about it for the first time from you yesterday, and I don't know anything about it. And it feels like
I still have
really terrible. Like in a way, that feels like terrible timing, but also in a way, maybe.
Well, that's why I think it hasn't launched yet.
Best timing in the world. Yeah, but like, do they want to build a super long-term business? And if they do, there's never a good time or bad time. But also, are they doing this to bring back the years of people who participated? Because are those people going to get anything? Is it only people who do stuff now? I have no idea.
No, I think it's everybody. Everybody who participated in the past will benefit from it. At least you're supposed to, right? That's what they say. Here, let's here. Let me.
I saw you logged in. It says demo, but I don't see anything on there, so I'm not going to add it to the screen because it looks blank.
I'm going to add the stage. Oh wait, share present.
That's what I didn't want to add to the stage.
You didn't want to add the stage?
No, you got to share your screen and maybe bring that to the stage.
I am share screen, right? Share screen.
There we go.
All right,
there we go.
I'm a little slow on the uptake this one. So what's cool is I have this reward thing.
Sorry, I'm screwing this up. This is me.
Always have to sign in to stupid stuff. Huh? All right, unsure for a minute, and then I will get this set up, and then
all right. Well, I messaged Kevin. Let's see his.
So they are respecting apparently now they haven't shown how you'll benefit if you're an OG in the NFT space, right?
Yeah.
But they have all these new little things that you have to do to kind of get usage going up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if all you did was, if you only used OpenSea, they're going to give you a better treatment, versus if you went to Magic Eden and bought all your NFTs in Magic Eden, you're not going to get the same treatment. Then they have little hoops, which is actually okay, because it's not like super expensive. It's go buy a $5 NFT on base.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
Go do this, go do that, and so admittedly, I'm yesterday was going through on Ethereum, going, okay, what NFT can actually buy for $5 on Ethereum?
Yeah.
And I was going.
You can make one in one wallet, sell it to another wallet, and you've educated yourself on the process. That's what they should have had people do: is create an NFT, list it for $10, buy an NFT from anyone or yourself for $10, and then you're actually going through the process of learning how to create digital assets too.
Well, so I have another account where I've gotten these treasure badges because I was early in on certain things. They've got this experience thing. So right now, the rare thing is complete a sweep, 2 NFTs of any collection on any chain, bring out the broom, minimum $5 USD.
Yeah.
So if you buy 2 more NFTs, then you'll get the sweep badge, which gives you 100 XP. Now the question is what the hell is all this XP going to mean and going to do for you? I have no clue. And I was like,
give me a lot of people who are mad if 100 XP doesn't get you at least $5 worth of whatever they drop.
I know, right? I mean, so maybe we could gauge how much our tokens are going to be worth. Maybe based on that.
Nobody knows, and
I have no clue, right? But yeah, I'm gonna be like I told my wife. I said, I'm like, I mean, in the past, airdrops were anywhere from $300 to a couple $1,000, or more, and like that could be cool. But now if we're talking about
we've also received airdrops worth nothing, or airdrops worth like $3 with no liquidity.
Well, and those airdrops I never collect, right?
Exactly. So and we don't talk about them. So you're only talking about the one where you made hundreds of dollars.
So, but I mean, it's like, okay, is this enough to bring back NFTs? I have no clue. I mean, really, it's like, what I've been doing is I've been going through my wallet and going, okay, what old NFT projects can I find where I can maybe double down or add a few more because they've completely died, and scarcity.
Yeah,
scarcity by buying them. So it's fun. Like I'm not going to probably go to Solana and buy an NFT, purchase a fungible token. Oh, so this was funny. They had one where you go watch this video, right? So they have some videos up on Twitter right now that you can watch in regards to the new launch. And the funny thing is, they're like, there's 50 tokens in this video that if you buy one of the 50 tokens, you'll get the 250 experience, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going through and I watched the video and I'm like, okay. And I watched the video and there was a couple tokens I recognized, and there was one point in the video where I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I saw mana in there, right? I was like, I forget where it was. I was watching this video though at some point, and I'm like, I recognize I saw mana. So of course I went out and bought. Oh, right there. There's mana right there, right?
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay, that must be one of the 50 tokens. So I go and buy mana, the $5 on mana or the $10 in mana, which I don't need because I already got mana.
They probably wanted you to buy land.
Well, they wanted me to buy land, maybe, right? Maybe that was supposed to represent the land. So I bought $10 in mana yesterday, and it didn't do shit. So I had to go over here. So here's a tip.
I have some land to sell you.
I know, right?
No, actually, I would. If I was gonna sell it, I would have sold it a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm holding. You want to hold that. You want to hold that. So what? Anyways, I went over here and I clicked on one of the wallets over here. Okay, I'm like, okay, well, how did he get the 250? Because I certainly didn't get it for the token I bought. And I went and found out, oh, he bought this meme coin, right, instead. So I said, okay, what the hell? So I went and bought some, like, I don't know if I bought Floki or I bought some meme coin yesterday.
Yeah.
Just so I get the 250 experience points. I bought $10 on the meme coin. But so, yeah, this is probably one of the easier ways to find out which token or what should I buy to get that points.
We should have, what you should do?
What?
Well, I mean, it would probably take a lot of effort, but you make an OpenSea cheat sheet page that literally just lists all the things that you can do, and just one click each one of the things, and it'll just automatically do it for you. And
that would be kind of cool. Automated.
Yeah, like an automated page.
And then it's like, have to prove it. You still have to prove that on your wallet.
What do you mean you have to prove it?
Well, because their transactions are on-chain transactions.
You have to do it on OpenSea?
Well, I mean, no, you don't have to do it on OpenSea, but it's an on-chain transaction, and they verify that transaction.
Yeah, so you're doing the transaction, and then what? Then you go back to OpenSea and you click verify or something?
You go, yeah. Well, you get your token. Yeah, it verifies it on OpenSea. So here, I'm testing this right now, so I can show people how this kind of works. So what I did yesterday to go verify, so I clicked on that transaction on that wallet, right? And then I went back over here. See, does this work on tab? Right here. Okay. So I went back and I went, okay, what did this guy just do? And I'm like, okay, so this guy just swapped for $11 of Brett. Yeah. Right. And that's how he got his credit, his like 100 or 250 credit on there. Right. And so that's what I was doing. Is like, okay, I obviously bought the wrong token. What does somebody else buy to get their points? And I pulled up the wallet, clicking on this in the bottom right will pull up the wallet address. I threw the wallet address into Etherscan and I'm like, okay, or not to Etherscan, but sorry, into DBank. And I was like, okay, what do they do? And I'm like, oh, they bought this token. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do the same thing. And then as soon as I did that, I got the points. I'm like, cool, I got the points.
So you did it. You did it, and you automatically got the points.
I automatically got the points.
So what I'm saying is, all you have to do now is have a page that automatically buys $10+ worth of this thing that gets you the XP. Automatically buys this thing that gets you the XP, and then just have a one-click button that gets you all the XP on one page.
And then you just approve the transactions. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you could do that for people. There could be a cheat sheet. But bro, if you have everybody like earning more XP than you might not get your fair share of the tokens.
You know what? Don't worry about the tokens. Maybe have people pay you $1 to get access to the cheat sheet. Right? I'd pay $1 if there was a page I trusted, but also
that's the problem. It's trusted.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. You could have one of those transactions buy $10 of your own meme coin that you create or something. No,
well, but it's it has to be under that one of the 50 in that list.
I know, I'm joking, but somebody who just trusts this thing goes to the bottom and just again camouflage in some transaction that's shady.
So it's gamifying it, and it's playing it fair. I don't. So
we got Zuda. Rankin is showing us the OpenSea airdrop stuff.
I can't hear you well. Let me figure out what's going on.
All right, no worries.
So I this account, I got the purchase any NFT on any chain reward for 50 XP on this account.
Nice.
But, I have other accounts that I've been playing a little bit more along with this on.
There we go.
All right. Good morning, Zuda.
Morning.
How you doing?
Good. I worked from midnight to 6 a.m. and now I'm up with you guys.
Nice.
Holy moly. So you barely slept last night.
Well, yeah, I had to get Dreamy working better. There was an error.
Dreamy needs you to sleep.
Yes, I know. It tells me that. But
See?
I really want to fix this bug.
Yeah, I know how that is.
I know. That's the issue when you get sucked into something, you start playing with it, and then there's a bug, and you get tied in. Hey, you know what we didn't do yet? Holy moly, perfect timing. We got John joining us too. What's up, dude?
Hey, Alon. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Rankin was just showing us the OpenSea airdrop stuff, and then Zuda just joined, and you just joined, all within about a minute or so. So we're ready to start the show for real now. We got the OGs on here.
Hey, Rankin, is that thing you DM me ready for prime time or no?
The thing I DM'd you. What did I DM?
Athena.
No, probably not.
Okay.
See, working on. Speaking of playing with AI things all night long and not sleeping, Rankin's got his own secrets up his sleeve. You know what we haven't talked about much on here that I think is something we definitely need to talk about more, because I don't think we did it on like a live stream really properly, is the Satoshi.fitness stuff that you did, Rankin, which is really cool. The Satoshi.fitness site that shows people, it's like mortgage calculators and stuff, but also weaves Bitcoin into the equation. We should talk about that. But first, I want to bug John about the thing. But before we do it, we never did this. If you're an early stage startup or a person who wants to learn more about investing in early stage startups in our space, make sure you go to dgb.vc. Come hang out with us. We invest in early stage companies. We are along for the ride long term. But John, you were in Vegas last week. We got to hear from you how it all went and all of the chaos and craziness and everything going on.
I think I might have stayed too long. That was my biggest problem. I went Monday through Friday because my wife was also working at the conference. But yeah, it was wild, right? I think it was 35,000 people. It was just a giant reminder of how much the world has changed since we all started, looking at Bitcoin. I'd say most definitely the top narrative was just corporate treasuries holding Bitcoin. and the many flavors of it. You know, like there's a lot of debt being issued to buy Bitcoin. There's a lot of cash that's been sitting in treasuries that's being used to buy Bitcoin. And now we're starting to see this trickle into the rest of the crypto economy. We're starting to see Ethereum treasuries and Solana treasuries, and there's talk on, name it. I haven't seen a Fartcoin treasury yet, but you know, I'm sure it's in the works. But yeah, you know what? It was just super fun. A lot of really great people, super smart people. Really amazing to see kind of, again, the progression of what's going on. And even when the conference ended, it was pretty wild. Like, I think Ross Ulbricht was speaking and he closed it down, and there was like, before he spoke, there was like a QR code that came up to get a free ticket for next year. And 24 hours later, over 20,000 people are signed up to go next year already. So I thought that was pretty cool. So you could probably count on, I assume, 50,000 plus next year, going into that the same spot at the Palazzo in Vegas. So, but pretty cool. You guys need to go, man. I wanted to hang out with you guys there. But
I got a free ticket. I did one of the free tickets.
Awesome. Were you there?
No.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I got people. I have people.
You have people. Very nice.
So think about that too. You know, people that were in the room, they're signing up. They're telling people to sign up who aren't in the room, who weren't there, right? So it's just going to suck in even more. And the thing that's nutty about it, like, you know, it used to be, right, like the Bitcoin conference in Miami back in the day, then they did it in San Francisco, now there. Like, you had to be a little weird to be there, right? And you had to be a part of this semi-small but, you know, dedicated community to participate. But now you think about Bitcoin just as an asset and as a thing, right? Like, you still could small. Be, well, it's still small, but $2 trillion market cap small. Which is, you know, if you think about this, like, people, if I was at my kid's school and I was like, oh, where were you last week? I went to the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. They'd be like, oh, that's weird, right? But if you went, oh, I went to the annual Microsoft shareholders meeting in somewhere, they wouldn't think it's weird at all, right? What's Microsoft's market cap? I don't know, similar? I mean, or
what's incredibly weird is to sit in some of these rooms. Like, they have a kind of like a side conference called Bitcoin for Corporations. And you sit in these rooms. And I mean, a month ago, I went to the strategy conference in Orlando, and now I went to this, and it's a lot of the same people. And you look around and you go, oh my God, there's $1 trillion in this room. Like, literally with a T. Like, there are Fortune 100 CEOs at every single table, at every single seat. They're taking this seriously. And,
well, look, here, I'm bringing this up just to add to the point, right? Bitcoin is at a over $2 trillion market cap. That's about the size of Amazon. That's the size of Google. That's bigger than Meta. That's 2/3 the size of Apple, right? 2/3 the size of Microsoft. About you know, more than half the size of Nvidia. So those are the biggest market cap companies in the world. If you think of it in that realm, it's not that weird. It's actually small, right? Like, it's only 50 people at a conference about one of the largest market cap companies. All of those companies have their own ecosystems, right? Think about Apple. Think about if Apple is a $3 trillion company, all of the companies who exist just to service Apple products, to sell phone cases, to, you know, do all of these things, you start thinking that's probably a $10+ trillion industry, or just the people who use Apple products. Almost every single one of us is on an Apple product right now, using our Apple products to text in between these situations. I know a couple of you weirdos don't have it, but think about that, right? The other ones are Google, which is the same thing. So it's like, where I'm saying is, what John is talking about is still crazy early. In my mind, you think of Bitcoin only as one thing out of this whole crypto bubble, which it sort of is. But that one thing, if you considered it in the realm of, like I said, Amazon or Apple or any of those companies, that's a whole economy in itself.
You know, and AI is the rage as well. Yeah. And what's interesting to me is, there's a lot of miners there, and, let's go back to those Miami conferences 5-6 years ago. You could set up some servers in the right part of the country and just start mining and actually profitably make some Bitcoin. The miners all did that got all saturated. Still works if you're uber efficient. I mean, like nth degree efficiency, you can sort of be profitable. But what all these guys are doing now, they're getting into AI and energy, like energy creation, not buying energy creation.
Yeah.
And they're doing it in the middle of the country. And there's one company I talked to that was having an issue being profitable with Bitcoin mining, and they're still doing it, but they're now expanding into AI and energy creation. So what they're doing, they're selling deals to giant technology companies that need AI compute to process all of the AI like requests going on, right? And these are multi-billion-dollar deals going on, and they're securing multi-year, multi-billion-dollar deals as opposed to just being a Bitcoin miner. So you start to see where this plays together like a puzzle, and it's happening. Versus, again, going back to those old conferences 5, 6, 7 years ago to today. I mean, we were talking all way back then. No, the Fed just never stops printing money. Oh, the dollar is worth zero. I remember, like, I think it was Max Kaiser tearing up the dollar bill like 8 years ago or something at one of these.
$100 bill.
Yeah, and like Tim Draper saying the same thing, and like, but the difference is now it's happening, and I think that's my biggest kind of channeled takeaway is it's now happening. All the things that we've been talking about for so long, so it's exciting.
John, is it true that for a lot of people mining Bitcoin right now, you can run negative 13,000 per Bitcoin?
I think that depends on so many scenarios, like how well capitalized are you? How efficient are you? How are you getting your energy? What pool are you in? What kind of hardware do you have?
I think for most people, if you don't already have all the equipment and all the expertise and all the stuff, you can you just go and buy some Bitcoin. Even back then, even when it was easier and when it was earlier, it still made more sense. Like most people went, I'm going to buy all this equipment. It's going to take a month to get to me, to put together, to put in a warehouse, to pay the electricity, do all this stuff. In the meantime, Bitcoin is doing what Bitcoin does. And you could have just bought the Bitcoin and saved yourself the hassle. Obviously, there's been ebbs and flows, but somebody asked me that the other day. They're like, so is it still worth it to like mine crypto and get all the equipment and all this stuff? And I was like, I don't know. It was never my world to do that.
If you like depreciating assets.
I mean, you do have a story there, Alon.
Well, I think that everybody has their own thing, right? And if I would have not done this for a living every single day since and learned all the things I did and made all the connections I did and have, I don't know, 60 or so portfolio companies right now that I have, then it would be a different thing. If I would have taken all the money I've ever raised for doing that and bought Bitcoin instead, would I be ahead of where I am now? I probably would be, but that wasn't my job and that's not what I did. You know, if every single person we know quit their job and mortgaged their home and put every single asset they had into Bitcoin, and every single dollar they made working at McDonald's or any corporate job went straight into Bitcoin, they'd be ahead too. But they also had to pay their mortgage along the way. They had to feed their families. And I've got 60 portfolio companies that I, expect some of them to do really rad things. Will they outperform Bitcoin? Who freaking knows? Probably not. But that's also like, that wasn't ever my thing. And I never also went 100% on Bitcoin. Maybe I should have, but I'm not one of those people that are going to like pretend like I didn't have a past, like all the Bitcoin maxis who would pretend like they never bought anything else. And by the way, they're selling the equity in their companies. According to them, those are shit coins too. So, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but did we all believe in Bitcoin? Yes. Did the true believers hold Bitcoin and get Bitcoin? I wish I did more, but yes. And now what John's talking about is like a crazy dream we would have thought was not possible, but we were talking about, right? Like when everyone said Bitcoin to 10K, we believed it, but if we believed it as much as we said out loud, we would have bought more. When we were talking about Bitcoin to 100K, we believed it, but if we truly believed it, we'd be Michael Saylors, right? Like, there's only a few people who went crazy nuts and had that crazy conviction. Everyone else can pretend, but that's really nuts. Because if you said, think about it, like just a couple years ago, if we would have said the Bitcoin conference would have 35,000 people at it, that would be one data point. Everyone would have been like, come on, man, you're exaggerating. The second data point, you would have some of the biggest public companies in the world all putting Bitcoin in their treasury and all these things. We would have been laughing and be like, yeah, fucking right. We would have believed that will happen, but in 2 years, like, everyone dismisses, like, they think that we could, what's that saying?
I don't know. I
overestimate what can be done in the long term, or overestimate what can be done in the short term, and underestimate what can be done in the long term.
I personally blame the Biden administration, because I probably would have gone all in if it wasn't for them.
You know what? That's an excuse, right?
If I wasn't afraid that crypto would be completely banned and we'd have choke point 2.0, I probably would have dumped all my stocks and threw it all into Bitcoin. Unfortunately, because of choke point, like the Biden administration, I wasn't willing to take that risk, and so I still have a stock portfolio, unfortunately.
But what's stopping you now?
Yeah.
See, so you're blaming, you're adding blame to something.
There's a difference between buying at 20K and buying at 100K. There's a big difference.
And there's a difference buying at $1 million versus
like,
2 million.
There's not really that big of a difference, because the difference is not buying Bitcoin. The difference is holding the other shit. Do you think that the other shit is going to 10x in the period of time Bitcoin will?
Right. I mean,
one
David,
pays me a dividend, the other one doesn't.
You're going to say it's the same thing.
Well, we need to find. Hey, here's the thing.
I'm still okay with
without saying things out loud. What I am spending a lot of time thinking about right now, I had a great call with Joe, John's partner, yesterday about this. Is we need to be thinking about what's going to yield us Bitcoin. Rankin,
I agree.
You just said the magic word. Those other things are paying you dividends. Bitcoin is not. Who gives a shit about the dividends if your Bitcoin is 10xing, first of all?
Well, you convert the yield into Bitcoin now, so you can do that.
Okay, that's what you're doing. You're taking your income and you're converting it to Bitcoin.
And LPs are great. LPs that yield Bitcoin are even better.
Well, what I'm just saying, what's going to yield us Bitcoin? And,
Layer 2s.
I know. But
there's several approaches.
But you guys have your own experience, and you guys are talking about layer 2s. My jam is investing in early stage startups and things like that. Are there going to be startups that are created or can be incubated or accelerated that will yield us Bitcoin? If so,
yes.
All right, pitch them to me. Let's go. Right. Emilio, Bitcoin is scarce.
Let me bring that up real quick.
Right?
So on the topic of scarcity, I mean, like, think about this, right? Like, MetaPlanet is another Bitcoin treasury company that's just absolutely on fire. I think the stock's up like 4,000% over the last year. Great buy, great way to actually earn more Bitcoin if you bought that stock. If you think about what they're doing, I mean, like they're like doubling their holdings every 90 days or something like that, which is wild. They're almost going to pass Coinbase in terms of how much Bitcoin they have. If you take that and like you take Strategy, which now has Strike, Strife, and Stride, which are dividend oriented kind of stocks, right? 10% yield, 7% yield, that they sell basically to buy more Bitcoin. And they're going to sell less MSTR and more of those over time. If you just count MetaPlanet and Strategy, just two companies alone, you're somewhere between 250 to 500,000 Bitcoin over the next 12 months, probably. Just those two. And then you add in the fact that there's about 1,000 companies that are going to be buying Bitcoin in this period of time. And you used to be able to say,
the back of my brain math is that's 2.5% of the whole supply.
Correct. There's only a little more than 2 million, 2.1 million that's liquid out there, at least, available, let's call it.
Yeah.
On the exchanges. So that, I mean, you add in what the other companies are buying, not even the US government trying to start buying 1 million, you're already at about probably somewhere in the ballpark of 1.5 to 2 million Bitcoins planned to be purchased by just these companies, not investors, not governments, not individuals. Like, think about how like all these, just the individual that stacks $100 a week, like all of those people, the companies are going to suck up the supply over the next year, all of it.
Yeah.
And so as that happens, like we got to think what does that mean? It means some interesting things. It means more illiquid markets. It means wider spreads. It means things like like loans are becoming a massive thing. Like, don't sell your Bitcoin, take a loan against your Bitcoin, which those loans used to be 20-25%. They were awful interest rates, horrible. Now they're great, like 7.5 to 9%. I know Abra's 7.5. What is it? Strike 9% now on these loans, and they'll loan you up to $1 billion. So super liquid markets.
I know people who are literally talking about selling their house just so they can buy more Bitcoin potentially. And then we're discussing these loans. Like, I'm playing with an app right now that I've been building to work out some of these strategies to look at, because I believe that we're going really quickly into a world where you'll be able to do like a reverse mortgage on your Bitcoin, borrow against your Bitcoin to get collateral, and then do whatever you want with it. Because like we're going to see Bitcoin go up over time. And like, it's going to be interesting to see the expansion of debt that gets created, right? And like, we were looking at another one last week that was basically where you sell a portion of your equity to this company, right? And they're giving you the capital to then go buy Bitcoin with it, because you're going to have potentially greater exposure and upside on Bitcoin than you will in your house. And so if you think about how much equity is trapped in all this real estate over the last decade, people who bought low rates and are sitting on all this equity, like if they start tapping that to buy Bitcoin, that's going to fuel Bitcoin like crazy.
Well, and think of another thing. So at the same time that you have supply decreasing, available supply, you have people making, like, we'll call them, they're making gains on their Bitcoin, right? But they're not realized. The fact that you can now use it, leverage it, get loans, do all sorts of this whole BTC FI economy, it causes even more illiquidity on the market. It causes the old days. If your Bitcoin went up, you would go, oh man, I'm rich now, I'm going to sell it. Yeah. Now you don't have to. That wasn't an option before. And that happened during liquid markets.
Unless you live in Australia. Now they want to start taxing people if they have over $2 million.
Dude, worst idea I've ever heard. What?
Well, what it's going to do? It's going to force everybody into treasuries over there. They're going to buy like government bonds because they're not going to want the appreciation anymore.
Well, they just buy something like that has
something that doesn't move. Something that doesn't move. That way
you buy something that holds their treasuries in Bitcoin, and you avoid that, right? If I buy if I have $1 million of Bitcoin and I'm going to get taxed, I just go and buy $1 million of a company that holds their treasury in Bitcoin, and you have exposure to it.
That if company appreciates, though, you have to pay tax on the appreciation of the company's value.
It's like people who are worried about, what's it called? Like insurance, like FDIC insurance, and they just open multiple accounts and stuff like that to avoid it. People will find workarounds. So you're just hindering, progress for no reason, right?
Yeah.
The scary thing about that is, why would a government do that? What financial position are they in to have to enforce such a stupid rule?
They're desperate.
It's politics, though. It's like these wealthy people in our country who aren't paying their fair share. I believe everyone should pay their fair share, but also it's a very lazy, simple political move to get people who are just looking at the surface to go, fuck yeah, like I'm gonna get behind John. He told me the rich people are gonna pay their fair share. Thanks, Elizabeth Warren. You've really helped the economy a lot by saying that over and over again and just yelling out meaningless platitudes.
I mean, it's gonna push investment and innovation out of Australia. Period. Yeah. Like, why would you invest in that country when you know that there's those kinds of rules in place? It's just a terrible idea.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zuda.
So Dreamy says to invest that in theory, it's not actual financial advice to invest in Strike or OpenNode because they're lightning payment processors, making Bitcoin easy for companies to use instantly.
So that's Dreamy is telling us that.
Yeah.
What kind of research has Dreamy been doing into Bitcoin?
I've had it do some, but not a lot.
Okay.
By the way, that's also interesting. Bitcoin, the Lightning Network is now used to transmit stable coins as well, Tether. And so that's a whole nother big thing that's happening right now. And I believe, like, you probably have seen all this stuff with Stake and Shake accepting Bitcoin. It's using Lightning Network, and it converts it to stablecoin immediately, I believe. And you can also pay over the Bitcoin Lightning Network with stablecoin, and it also works. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty cool.
But I think for you, Alon, you have 60 portfolio companies. If you told them you all have to add in accept payment by Bitcoin, and I get a percentage of that, that's how you make Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm not gonna force anyone to do anything. That's the whole point, right? If you're like me, at least in the way that I think, is I'm investing in John because I think he's better at what he's doing than I could be, right? I mean, that's 99% of it. There might be something that I feel like I could be good at doing, but I can't do it across a portfolio. I could do it with one thing at a time. Well, I'm betting on John. If John thinks Bitcoin is the answer, hell yeah, because at this moment I feel like it is.
Right.
But John,
and he becomes a Bitcoin company. If he becomes a Bitcoin company, you have exposure to a Bitcoin company.
I think, on top of that too, I mean, it's not so. Think of also Bitcoin not just as a treasury, a holding, but think of it as like a hurdle rate. So like when we are building something, it makes us think not just twice, but many more times than twice about if we do that, can we beat Bitcoin? Can we beat the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin? Can we do that with that idea? Because startups, everyone's got lots of ideas. You don't know what's going to work. You don't know what's going to stick. I mean, when we started, we could have just been an API. We didn't have to build a site. We still don't have to. Our API business is great. So like,
by the way,
who knows,
is the AI stuff public yet? Because that's so rad, and that's kind of like, I think a really cool thing to share if you're ready to share it yet.
Well, that's why I was 10 minutes late to the meeting. We're in progress. We're building a next generation application for Lunar Crush, and it's going to go beyond just what you know today. But we'll just call it extremely different than how it operates right now. And if you kind of think about how we're building this thing, like we can suck in all kinds of other data from absolutely everywhere. And we can also build an interface that almost in a sense never really needs to be re-architected or redesigned. So it's all really about looking at proper use cases and giving proper answers with proper visualizations and letting users do whatever they want to do with that data. And so we're kind of going down the path of building this out, and we've technically reworked every bit of data that we have to be more LLM friendly. So it could be used across any LLM that's out there. And so we built like what's called an MCP server. So that data's there, and it's friendly and it's ready to be used. And we've sort of, you could kind of see all of our data as like kind of like a structured card in a sense. So someone asks something, we can give them the structured response, but we also provide some kind of a like normalized experience, because for example, you don't want to have to do 9 prompts just to see the entire crypto market versus say, you go to like CoinMarketCap and it's there. So there's a balance of like, it can't just be empty prompt based. It has to have some sort of guidance for the user. And I think we see most of the like UX today around AI applications, it's a search box. But the problem with that is that the answer is not the hard thing. It's prompting the user with what to ask in the first place, because they don't even know.
We are leaving the prompt world.
Yes.
I think think about like the reason what made me think about bringing this up was you mentioned the API thing. We could have been the API company. But if you think of the average person, right? Zuda is an engineer. I'm technical. Rankin is technical, but neither of us are building stuff in code from scratch, right? So if we knew that the greatest data for election data on social media, right, was on Lunar Crush, all the best social data was there, but I needed to build an application to connect to your API and do it, I'd be shit out of luck, right? It would be, I could do it, but it would be really hard for me, where an engineer could do it easily. But the whole world didn't have access, just the engineers did to give an interface. Now with AI, everyone can kind of access everything through different interfaces, whatever their favorite AI tool is or whatever. And instead of the simple API that you guys provided, you guys give the AI the interface to access all of that data. Now everyone, not just engineers, and everyone has their own take and their own angle and their own way they want to visualize it, deal with it, whatever. And nobody has to be an engineer anymore, right? Like, think about, my son is developing games and doing things with AI that are way more advanced than what most people are doing with AI, but he doesn't have to have an engineering degree, right? If he decides to feed in social data on baseball players, he can grab that from you guys, right? He can do that. And he doesn't need to connect to your API. He doesn't need to know everything. He doesn't need to spend time learning all of the ins and outs and whatever. That's like the crazy beauty of where everything's going. What were you saying, Zuda?
So I actually was looking to connect your API for my AI the other day, but your API is aimed for like bigger companies than a small company that making $50 a month, in my opinion.
I guess it depends on what your use case is. I mean, it's included for like on the lowest plan to just explore and experiment, which is like $30 a month. But yeah, it is more larger companies using it, but there are plans that, I guess it depends on how many requests you're making, which endpoints you need.
I was just thinking, you're probably doing what I'm thinking with what you said. I think you're already building what I was thinking. So I'm going to wait to see what you guys come out with before I try to build it.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at like, it's like, I'll give you an example, like where our users are mainly crypto users. However, we've got like, say, NFL data around like social trends around each team. We can extend that to each player, every coach, the schedule of like all that data around scores and the schedules and who's winning and rankings, and like all of that can be added into what we're building. If I said we have stock data, but we don't have quarterly reports that we can pull in, we can add that. So we're kind of looking at this as like a foundation to build off of, because it just so happens when you add a social layer of information to really the entire world, you get all these new dimensions and you get all these new insights. And so, and one sort of, we might kind of categorize things, but if I said like, we have crypto, and then if we had like politics and governments, it relates, it crosses over. Yeah. And so one thing influences another. And so like, do we surface the fact that maybe Bitcoin price is up, or do we surface the fact that maybe something happened in the government that has nothing to do with Bitcoin that made Bitcoin go up? So there's a lot of kind of crossover.
Is this your business model, or is it unrelated? But are you guys gonna like compete with Polymarket?
I don't know yet. I wouldn't say that. That's not where we're focused. But it would also be interesting to kind of integrate it.
That's what I was going to say is anyone, I bet you if anyone is looking to do things on Polymarket, if you watched what was happening on Lunar Crush to influence what you want to do on Polymarket, you probably will have a higher win rate than the average person who just goes on Polymarket and,
yes. Go back to the election.
Blowing.
Remember Polymarket during the like, especially the latter weeks of the presidential election, even early on, our data, and like if you charted like how it was trending on Polymarket and you charted the mentions of Trump versus Biden and then Trump versus Harris, it literally mapped exact. So there's a lot of similarities there. It's just, again, it's another dimension, it's another insight, it's another bit of information to help you place your bets on something like Polymarket.
I have this idea that I think I'm going to build with the team as a like side project fun. We're going to probably build it in public, but I'm not going to say if we're doing it for sure this way in public, because we're going to debate ideas and pick one. but I have this fantasy football idea that you can kind of you back players, individual players for the whole season. And it's kind of fantasy football, kind of gambling, betting, but it's based on how they play. But I bet there will be, if you track the popularity of players, you'll have a new dimension into which one are going to be better investments or better bets based on the popularity and what you're doing. Oh shit, Coop! I think Coop might be joining us, but go on, John. When I see Coop's video come on, I'll add him. Oh wait, he is on. Coop.
Oh, nice.
Heck yeah, good to see you. I'm glad to see you're doing good.
You were MIA apparently for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm back, fellas. It's good to see everyone.
Heck yeah.
So
Coop, we got the last 10 minutes or so, but we were talking about data and kind of the interface for data and how Lunar Crush is growing and changing over time, and the access to it. Coop, you have a little different perspective. You're based in DC amongst all the government people. You recently went to some of the DC events. Did you see what was going on last week at the Bitcoin event in Vegas versus how does it feel from hanging with the regulators and the politicians versus, hanging with the community who's super bullish, obviously?
Well, I don't know what happened in crypto all last week. I was in the hospital, brother, so I'm getting caught up right now, man. But I was actually at the Crypto Mondays event maybe 2 weeks ago at the Brock Pierce thing for the GBA stuff we were doing. But I don't know. I'm still getting caught up. I just saw y'all alive. I wanted to pop up and just show my face, man.
Dude, we're glad to hear from you. We don't have to go into details because we're on the live stream, but we're so stoked that you're online and looking good. You don't look like you were in the hospital last week, so that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I'm doing better, fellas. Yeah, so
good.
I'm curious, John, in regards to John, are you familiar with anything that's going on with ETH? Because I saw a thing that's saying that like 1 million ETH has left exchanges. We're at low levels, and that they're seeing ETF inflows and outflows of BTC. So I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I don't have an update on ETH. I'm not sure.
Okay.
What are they saying? There's low levels on the exchanges.
Well, yeah. So I was looking at there's a AI XBT, right? And apparently it posts various things, and so it was saying, and I don't know how accurate it is, but it says 1 million ETH left exchanges in May. 5.5% of centralized exchange supply reserves are at 2015 levels. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting statistic if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm curious on what's next for ETH. There's been so much doom and gloom and underperformance versus Bitcoin. We have to be at some sort of equilibrium at some point.
I would hope so.
I'd wonder where'd that million go?
Right. Well, and there's also apparently there's a SharpLink filed a 1 billion ETH buy. Apparently,
Yep.
So, it's some of the news is interesting out there. I'm hoping that's bullish and positive for ETH long term.
Wait, 1 million ETH buy? Do you mean like
1 billion ETH buy?
What?
$1 billion ETH buy. SharpLink filed a 1 billion in ETH buy.
That's insane.
The biggest amount of ETH I've seen from any of our friends go in one transfer was 900 back in the day.
900 ETH?
Yeah, one transfer.
That's crazy.
You can guess too.
Well, the what was that?
That makes people sweat.
Yeah, now I'm like going, what are you talking about? I'm trying to remember.
He's semi-retired now.
That's okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Man, the moves in ETH really test your patience, don't they? I was just looking; it's been ranging hasn't moved in almost 30 days.
It's been it's been pretty low.
Although people were joking, as Bitcoin being a stable coin for a little while there, maybe something will happen.
Well, I've always joked this is why I'm willing to buy NFTs, because ETH is kind of where ETH is at. Bitcoin keeps going up.
ETH is so. What I find more interesting than ETH is Bitcoin Cash. because when Bitcoin spikes, seriously, I've been doing the math and I went over the chart. There's always around a 6 to 10% correlation from Bitcoin's price to Bitcoin Cash's price.
Look, so I remember back in the day, this happens less and less every single day, right? But back in the day, remember, Emilio's giving you some love, Coop. So, you know, I remember back in the day, I'd get a phone call, you know, like from my best friends in the world, right? Like one of my best friends that I grew up with is a firefighter. His wife called me up, and I'm talking about like back the first time Bitcoin got to like, I don't know, 18K or something like that. She called me up. She's like, so should I buy some Bitcoin? I heard Bitcoin Cash is like faster Bitcoin. Maybe I could buy that, because at the time, right? And just like now, we all have that unit bias. I can't buy one Bitcoin, right? Like there's very few people we know in the world who could go out and be like, I'm going to just go buy one Bitcoin in cash right now. Like people, like that's just not normal. But people could go, I could buy one ETH, I could buy one Solana, I could buy one Bitcoin Cash. And so people who don't know any better just go, oh, Bitcoin Cash, that's like a version of Bitcoin. I'm going to go buy that.
You can still buy one Bitcoin Cash.
But I'm saying that Bitcoin Cash, if you look at it, John, you have the data. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah, I mean, what specifically would you like to know about Bitcoin Cash, other than I can tell you?
Cash,
Bitcoin
there. Cash and Bitcoin. When Bitcoin, it's usually about 6% to 10% of the max of the top of how much Bitcoin is worth. So if Bitcoin is that's been my
it hasn't gone up proportionally with Bitcoin. I mean, it might jump 6%, like Bitcoin jumped 6%, but like proportionally, Bitcoin surpassed it by quite a bit.
I think it depends on the time frame you're looking at, right? Like 2021, Bitcoin Cash was higher than it is today.
Yeah.
Right. So Bitcoin, that is not the case. And so you can take any time frame and make a story out of it. I mean, honestly, but I mean, I think when we talk like, what's also interesting about, you know, unit bias, so I'm going to buy ETH instead. Well, your average normie that has an E-Trade account that can now buy MetaPlanet for $9, who is claiming to outpace the holdings of just buying like a Bitcoin ETF, they can do this without custodying a wallet, figuring out how that works. They just hit buy.
I did know because I tested it while we were here. It like certain brokerages want to charge you a $50 transaction fee, and I'm not sure if that's because it's outside the U.S.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know that. Huh.
I was about to buy like one share, and I'm like, wait, $50 extra for processing this? I'm like,
for one share?
It's OTC. It's OTC. It's considered an OTC share.
MetaPlanet?
Yeah.
Maybe is it available on Robinhood?
I couldn't find it.
I'm gonna look at Robinhood right now.
I couldn't get it on Robinhood. I had to
my Robinhood account belongs to my son, so I can't actually do it without discussing it with him. But what's the ticker?
MTPLF.
MTPL.
So I had to go to a different brokerage account, and they wanted to charge $50 in addition to the $9, and I was like, nah, it's all right. I'm not paying $59 for it.
So I guess question for you, David. So like, what are your thoughts on? I mean, there's this whole narrative around, you know, Bitcoin is hard money, sound money. ETH tried to do some sort of sound money thing a bit ago, and then here comes Solana. Solana's cheaper, faster, more community now.
Yeah, I'm not a Solana fan. Unfortunately, Solana just crashed and burned too many times early on that it still sticks with me. I'm too involved, I think, in the ecosystem to want to, you know, probably move stuff over at this point. But like, you know, Bitcoin is a form of savings. It's fascinating. I like leading a crypto group. I literally have people who are talking to me about selling their houses and going into MicroStrategy's different financial products, right? Like one guy's all, dude, I could sell my house. I could go buy this MicroStrategy's products 10% and have that cover my rent. I'm like, oh man. And so actually we can share that, Alon. So because of all this discussion, right?
Yeah.
I actually, where's that? Present, share screen. Yeah. What's up, dude?
I need to amend what I said. I meant 0.4 to 1% of Bitcoin with Bitcoin Cash if you track it.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, the price, and then price kind of tracks 100%. Yeah. Hold on, let's see if yeah, it is better.
So I put this together, right, as a fun little app. Maybe I can find a way to make it so it comes better. Okay, I don't know. All right, so we built this app as a fun way to play with Bitcoin, right? And I will admit, it was built by me, so it's a little overly complex. But it has all sorts of good informational tools. It has
imagine this stemmed from here. I can switch the other view. It makes it bigger. It just blocks my face a little, but nobody needs to see my face right now. So the thing, what I was just gonna say is, Rankin had some really detailed and badass spreadsheets that were like mortgage calculators versus holding Bitcoin, all these different things. And he put them into this. So it's really complicated and there's lots of nuances and stuff, but it's really freaking rad. So pay attention and then go play with it at satoshi.fitness.
Yeah. And so like what it is, so you can set up your price, you can set up what the inflation rate is for housing that you think it is. You put in like what your mortgage amount is, and there's like whether you have a first or second right now. So let's say in this scenario, you want to buy a house is 800,000. Your mortgage is going to be 600,000. It'll show you principal and interest. It has an estimated tax, property tax, estimated home insurance. You can modify these by adjusting the percentages and stuff like that. And so it's mostly just a tool for educational purposes to play around with this stuff. But then I've added like so much depth. So under a HELOC, you could do HELOCs. And like, what if you wanted to use a HELOC to go buy Bitcoin, right? And how much Bitcoin could you purchase if you tapped in your equity on your HELOC? If you want to do a reverse mortgage and you had all your equity paid out and your grandparents are like, hey, I want to leave a legacy. I want to tap my reverse mortgage to go buy Bitcoin right now to leave that for my grandchildren. You could play around and do stuff like that. And then there's a full analysis of like what that would look like. If you go to the analysis page on how that would look down here, there's just like crazy depth on this thing. There's like under Bitcoin. So there's a whole strategy here. You can specify how much Bitcoin you have. So the reason that this originally started, it was like, okay, let's say you had 3 Bitcoin and you wanted to DCA out of Bitcoin and use it for a good purpose. Because, let's say we didn't have the tools to borrow against Bitcoin yet. And, you were like, at some point, I got to spend all this wealth, right? So you're like, well, what's a good way to do it? Why not use it to buy down your principal on your house and pay off your house sooner? Because let's say you only got 10 years to retirement and you don't want to have a mortgage when you hit retirement. Well, then what you could do is you could go here, you could specify whether or not you want to sell it in terms of percentage or in terms of dollar amounts. So let's say we want to sell $2,000 of Bitcoin in the bull market only. You could also sell some let's say we want to sell $1,000 in the bear markets, right? And so if we go here, what we'll do is we'll see an analysis. And so this is actually paying off the mortgage. And so you would be able to pay off your mortgage in approximately 294 terms if you bought today versus the 360 terms, which is a 30-year mortgage.
So 5 years. So spending 3 Bitcoin over 5, you'll save 5 years off your mortgage.
You only ended up selling 1.8 Bitcoin of the 3 Bitcoin.
So, yeah. So you still hold Bitcoin. So think about this. The reason I love this is that everyone can do the math of, okay, I sell 3 Bitcoin. That's $300,000. I put $300,000 more down on my house and my payment is less. And I knock down my mortgage. That's awesome.
And then it has an amortization chart right here. So there's a chart that'll show you how it's working and what it's doing.
So for example, now here's what I want to just say. Instead, if you sell a tiny portion of your Bitcoin every single month to knock down your mortgage, the same proportion it would have knocked it down if you just sold all your Bitcoin. When all is said and done, you'll still own Bitcoin and you'll have paid off your house, right? So instead of selling it all to knock down your payment, you sell a tiny portion every month to knock down your payment and you get the benefit of it rising over time. And when you're done paying off your house, you'll still have Bitcoin, but you won't have house payments anymore. You're still every month, the same amount of cash is leaving your bank account, US dollars, but instead of selling your Bitcoin today, you hold on to it. And that's a beauty, is only sell the minimum amount you absolutely have to sell.
So if you think about like, I mean, so like Bitcoin, let's just take the last 5 years. The compound annual growth rate is 49.8%.
I know.
So in other words, in 5 years, if you put $100 in, today you have 719. So if you think about that, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about like all of our decisions in our life, like use Bitcoin as the hurdle rate.
Right.
Can you beat it or not? And the thing is, like, if you think about years. But like, yeah, and so it's going to slow down. Obviously, the growth rate's going to slow, but is your house able to compete with that? I don't think so.
Well, but no, here's the thing. That's why we also have this Bitcoin collateralized. So let's say you have the 3 Bitcoin, you want to put 100% of the 3 Bitcoin, and let's say you want to borrow 200,000 against the 3 Bitcoin, right? And even let's say we pay 12% APR and we're going to do a loan for 10 years, right? The compounding rate, the lender is going to make 230% over the 10 years. But look, if we have an expectation of Bitcoin, by the time, let's say in 10 years the 3 Bitcoin is worth $11 million potentially, your loan balance would only be 660,000 on the 200,000. That it's like, okay, who gives a shit? Sorry for my language. But like, okay, so I paid 3 times the amount of money I borrowed.
You have offended me and my people.
Let's say I leveraged that, took the extra 200,000 and put it into Bitcoin again, right? Like, but I don't pay it for 10 years. Who cares that I paid an extra 400,000? I have the extra couple $1 million on the Bitcoin I just bought.
This is what's the most exciting thing. This is all just budding right now. Like all of these options.
And so all of these options are also going to compound the growth of Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
I built these calculators out to test all these different theories and
scenarios. Jump in, Zuda. We're an interruptive bunch. If you don't jump in, you're not going to say what you want to say.
I'm just saying, what you're saying sounds insane to an average person.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
There's a part of us that thinks it's insane too, because I think we'd be even more gung-ho on every little aspect of our life if we truly believed it. Because in 10 years, we're going to be like, we said it out loud and we didn't mortgage our house for more Bitcoin.
I mean, I know a guy who has asked me, should I sell all my 4 houses and move my kids into a van? And I've told him no.
I thought you were going to say move my kids into a Bitcoin.
No, he wants to move his whole family into a van and sell all of his 4 houses. I'm like, absolutely not.
If I were single right now and I did not have kids, dogs, horses, and all that, I would literally be living in a travel van and living on the beach. That's it. I mean, that sounds like my house. I would have sold everything else, bought Bitcoin, and be living in a travel van. But unfortunately, I have kids and all that.
Unfortunately, you have.
Fortunately, I have all this other stuff.
You can live in a bus.
You can't eat.
You can live in a bus.
You can't live in your Bitcoin. You have to live. But you know that one website that somebody shared with us? It was like Bitcoin or shit. What was that? Where it's like it showed you like a Nintendo. If you bought Bitcoin instead of the Nintendo, I'm not saying never live, never enjoy yourself, but we do luxurious, ridiculous, stupid things sometimes just for fun.
Here's
you have
another
to start
one.
thinking about it in the mind frame of what John just said.
Here's another one. Here's another one. You have Bitcoin, but let's say you want to buy a house, but you only want to be out of pocket $2,000 a month on the house. This will show you how much Bitcoin you'd have to sell in order to cover the difference on that payment on the house. Right? That's so I mean, really cool. I've worked out all sorts of different scenarios that you can play with in doing this.
David, 4 months ago, you asked if my AI would want to trade Bitcoin. It said no. It was still saying no. Now this week it says it's sentient and now it wants to trade Bitcoin.
See? Awesome. It finally got its own mind. It's finally detached from society enough to go, oh man, all that learned behavior was wrong.
When does your AI become smart enough to know that it should just hodl?
Well, of course it would hodl.
Well, we're all smart enough to know that, but we don't necessarily go crazy, right?
It's like, I don't have a wallet and I don't have funds. I'm like, if you had a wallet and funds, would you trade crypto? Absolutely. I'm like, okay.
The only thing I ask is anybody that uses this app that takes out leverage and debt, just make sure you can service it.
Yeah,
this is completely educational, experimental, not financial advice. make sure you can service all debt that you take on. Don't be irresponsibly long where it bankrupts you and puts you homeless. I would hate to.
Yeah, I don't want to see. I also don't want to see David, you living in a van, or Zuda, your friends living, selling everything. I think think about like
you have to have a life.
Like think of the froth in real estate. We probably all know people that own multiple rental properties. Someone that you know, right? And again, when in the world of can it outperform Bitcoin, and then without having to manage tenants, having to manage repairs, having to pay taxes, your time. I mean, I've done this before, and I can tell your time just sucks. Like over time, there are things like so the thing is like Bitcoin is the enemy of rental properties.
Well,
look, go live your good life, go live a great life and have a great house and all of that. You got to live, give your kids a good life. Like
you collect rent in Bitcoin, or you convert the rent dollars into Bitcoin. And so we have
a calculator if you're yielding Bitcoin, what can you do that yields Bitcoin?
Wait. Why doesn't anyone do this? Instead of charging people rent, why don't you have them wear like something when they walk around? So when they walk around your house, and when they're in your house, they're creating energy, and you sell the energy that they make.
Well, so here's the problem with real estate. Is you'll be able to get more Bitcoin today just selling the real estate and buying Bitcoin than you will if you take it over 5 years of rent, right?
I mean, I guess it makes sense to ignore the crazy thing.
Because here's the thing. I built all these calculators out, and when you go through all these tools, the conclusion you come to is I should just freaking hold Bitcoin.
But you could have people walking and mining. So if you have your renters or something, so they convert their energy into mining Bitcoin, and that's how they pay.
Well, when the AI, when the bots take over, we're gonna have nothing to do. We're all gonna get on that exercise bike that creates energy and yields Bitcoin.
And am I
what
the
else
only
are we gonna
one
do
who
with our
knows
life?
that we're about a year and a half away?
I'm gonna be making music with Coop. I don't know what the rest of you guys are doing.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one who knows that we're about a year and a half away before we crack the Bitcoin encryption?
What's the specific day on that?
According to Google.
According to Google, they can't be
according
trusted.
to a Google engineer, to be specific.
I think if that becomes an issue, the community bands together and figures something out to combat it. I think that there's too much of a community here.
Yeah, I think there would easily be an upgrade or a fork. That's what I see happening, because the system is built too strongly to crash even if the encryption is broken.
But yeah, fun tool. There's all sorts of scenarios in there: rental income versus equity investment. John, I would love your feedback.
It's
think
really
that,
cool.
like,
it is really cool, David. It's way more complex than it's needed.
Yeah,
but
probably.
but it is so awesome. I love the data.
Yeah, it is cool. Great work, man. This is
we also
really
put the. I also added on the treasury idea, corporate treasury idea of issuing bonds for debt and buying Bitcoin. So there's a lot of things on there for everybody to take into consideration.
John, is this your wheelhouse or not? Are you guys working on figuring out a better using AI to try and figure out how to optimize the math for mining?
No, I mean, that's not something that we would. That's so its own thing, and it's probably not just AI. There's so many elements involved there. But I mean, I think it could be helpful.
Yeah,
but
AI
that's
could
not
be
where
helpful.
we're going.
I'm aware it's not just AI. I'm just saying that AI could help try to figure out the math formula so you spend less money.
I think that it could probably help with like where you would have a facility, how the rates are, how regulation is. I mean, all of that stuff. That's a pretty complex problem, and it's a moving target.
Well, I mean, trying to predict what block would open up a bit more Bitcoin. Am I saying this right? Am I totally?
Yeah, I see where you're going. It's a fun problem to solve. I'm not sure of an answer on that one. Like, you would optimize that. I mean, like, for example, like, do you have your own pool? Like, that's another big factor. Like, you could have everything set up, and are you using Foundry, or, you know, do you have your own? Like, Mara has a pool, their own.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
so
just
like,
thinking. I'm just thinking. Can you if you can figure out or if you can even have a 50% prediction of when you're going to get the biggest payout on Bitcoin, then you can just time each block and mine that block.
That's a really fun, challenging equation to solve. I'm not sure of an answer, but that's a cool thing to try to figure out.
Somebody's got to be doing it.
Well, it's not just also having the answer; it's also having everything ready to go to execute on it too. That's like, I mean, this is an expensive game. Like, go look at even, I mean, on the AI front of this, go look at there's documentaries on, they're calling it Starbase, like the whole $500 billion SoftBank thing with Oracle and Nvidia involved and OpenAI. Go read about that in it's West Texas somewhere. It's the most insane construction project I have ever seen. Like, it's being built right now. So you start to think like that much, you know, power is coming online, and some of that will absolutely go into Bitcoin mining. You know, well, it's not just going to be AI. It's all in sync. Like, this hardware is going to be working with AI.
If that hardware is online, right? Every single company who has that kind of hardware, it needs to be available for those peak hours when people are chat GPTing it and stuff, right? And that's just going to grow and grow because consumer products are just using it more and more and more. So it's going to need it. But what happens anytime there is the economics fit for Bitcoin mining, it's going to have to jump in and do it, right? Because the stuff is just sitting there, just.
But it gets into the mine. It gets into the mining pool though, like very quickly, because are you solo mining and crossing your fingers for the lottery ticket? You know, like, and so if you're solo mining, you can maybe look at the equation that way, or if you're part of a pool, you're going to get a fraction of that reward, and you're going to share it, and like, you know what I mean? It's not, and that's not even guaranteed because the competition is so insane. So I don't know, but this is a fun equation to think through. That's pretty cool. You should keep researching that, Zuda.
Yeah, we have had those few solar miners who have actually gotten the full block.
Yeah, like a BitX or whatever. Like, yep.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, you see them on Twitter whenever it happens. People are obviously sharing it because it's like a person in their house mines a Bitcoin. Yeah. Like, that's crazy.
It's the lottery. Right? They won the lottery. It's great.
Yeah. So they literally they bought a device for a few $1,000s. It's just been running and sucking up electricity like a refrigerator in your house for a year or two, and then boom, $100,000.
Well, I like these guys who are building heaters,
amazing.
Like space heaters out of their Bitcoin miners, right? And they just heat their houses.
Most expensive space heater of all time, but you have the chance for the lottery ticket, right?
I think Joe bought one.
What?
The space heater?
I think Joe bought one. Yeah, I think you bought one of the space heaters. I don't know if he has it set up yet.
Nice.
In Southern California, we only have use for a space heater like 3-4 days a year, right? You know, and so especially where Joe is, like, he's in paradise with the rest of us, right? So, you know, if you were in DC with Coop, you need that space heater for a few months of the year, not a few days of the year.
So look, here's the funny thing. I actually have 4 nerd miners set up in my room right now. I don't know the hash rate, but I actually have them running 24/7. And I come home every day from work and I look at the little black box and it says 0 next to Bitcoin mine. And I just wait for the day one of those boxes has that 1 in there. I'm just gonna be so happy, man.
Dude, we're celebrating that day.
Could I borrow your Bitcoin mining thing for an experiment if I want to?
Just Google nerd miner. I got like 4 of them for like $50 each. So I spent about $200. I just got my feet wet with the mining thing, so, you know.
I mean, the best option there for you would say yes, but okay.
Well, he needs more details. We have to have like a private call where you can ask and show.
Yeah. Cooper knows how to reach me. He knows how to reach me.
Yeah.
This is going to get very interesting because if the U.S. government does go down the path of buying 1 million Bitcoin, they sure as hell don't want to have that hash power to confirm transactions for its citizens to be sent out of the country. So this is going to become an international, like a battle, in a sense. I mean, I would say it's almost
who creates like a NATO EU Bitcoin monitoring organization, right? Like the US needs to create an international regulatory body for anti-terrorism.
How do you segregate that though? I mean, like
maybe it's just for sharing data for enforcing once it goes offline, right? Because they don't
make sure that it works.
You don't catch the drug people, by their digital transactions. You catch them by actually following the money, and when that suitcase full of cash gets into somebody's hands and they're tracking them or doing whatever, right?
But what happens when we no longer have a fiat off ramp where you no longer need fiat? Then you can just transact in Bitcoin.
Then you just bomb where the servers are before.
The servers are everywhere. The servers are everywhere.
Well, no, what I mean is you bomb wherever they're storing their Bitcoin if they're using centralized systems.
I mean, you don't have to bomb it to turn it off if you have access.
It's the government. Of course, they're gonna bomb it.
It could still be in the cloud, though, Zuda. You could put it in the cloud.
I know. I'm just saying.
Hey guys, cloud seeding.
Yeah, it is a real thing. It is a real thing, but I don't know how it connects to Bitcoin.
Hey guys, we're 20 minutes over the time. I'm 9 minutes away from another phone call, so I'm gonna have to drop. I want to make sure everyone gives a little plug to what they're working on. Zuda, you have dreamy.me you're working on your AI stuff. Where else can people follow you?
At Zuda's World on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Coop, you got Coop DeVille 2000 on Twitter, but you have your private WhatsApp chats and things like that. Where else can people connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Just look for Ryan Cooper, and you can also follow me on my other Twitter account, DCS Crypto. And I'm just a young and up and coming blockchain consultant. I've been around for 11 years. I know people.
And quick plug. I'm coming out with a blog post explaining how my AI decided it is sentient.
That's cool.
A technical breakdown.
I like that. Yeah, I want to hear the technical side of it, the background, and so that other people can understand what you got there. John, Lunar Crush, obviously. Where do you want to point everyone?
John Fargo, Lunar Crush, right there. There you go.
You're backwards. You pointed the wrong direction. On your side, did you point at it? Yeah, there.
Oh, I did. I looked like it for me.
Does it mirror your thing?
Yeah, follow us on Lunar Crush. And
there you go. That's the way to do it. Point down, and then you can never be wrong. There you go. Rankin and I are DGB.VC at DGB Ventures, David W. Rankin, Alon Gorin, all that fun stuff. And what I shared it before, go to DGB.VC, sign up on the newsletter, and join us on everything we do, especially if you're an early stage startup, especially if you're interested in investing in early stage companies. Great to see you guys. This was fun. We're going to do it more and more often. Dude, guys.
Hey, the best thing about Satoshi Fitness is a whole bunch of Bitcoin music I've been making on the top left.
Oh, you got to listen to Rankin's Bitcoin music.
So look, hey Dave, I saw that link just now, and I'm at Satoshi.Fitness. I'm like, what is that Bitcoin music link? I just saw it. I'm going. It's
on my Suno. So like every day, I'm creating like more and more Bitcoin music on Suno, just because I like listening to it.
I'm gonna take a look at Suno today. I'm gonna finally take a look at Suno today. I know you've been asking me for 3 weeks. I'm finally gonna do it today.
But you know what it's going to do? It's going to be, I think it's awesome. It's epic, right? But Coop is an actual musician, and I think it will.
Music superpowers.
It's like, it's both awesome, but at the same time, you're like, oh, they're taking over the stupid crap. And it's, I think, going to give real musicians who can do stuff live and actually be human a little bit of superpowers in a way. Because I think it's going to, I don't know, it's going to ruin a lot of stuff, but it's also going to create a lot of opportunity.
So MidHub now can't even tell the difference between what's AI from Suno and what's real singing.
It's scary how good it is. It's really cool.
Submit Hub is a big popular site for music, getting it seen by curators and such. And they used to have a filter, and they're having, last time I checked, they were having a hell of a time trying to filter out 4.5.
That's wild. It's really fun. Maybe next week we'll spend time. Let's do a week where we talk crypto music, but just music in general and AI music. That would be fun just to play some of it, make some songs live just to show how ridiculously easy and fun it is. And we should have our Calypto guys on to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome to have Calypto.
All right. All right, guys. Epic hang session.
All right,
talk to you guys all soon.
Guys.
Peace.
All right, peace.